Hey everybody, how's it going? Thanks for joining me this afternoon. I am Auron MacIntyre. Before we get started today, I just want to remind you that one of the ways that we keep the lights on around here is subscriptions through Blaze TV. So if you like what we're doing and you want to support the show, also you want to get access to all these other amazing Blaze TV hosts and all the behind the scenes stuff, you need to head over to blazetv.com/Auron. You can get $20 off your subscription today. Again, that's blazetv.com/Auron. All right, guys. So another wild weekend of news. We had a terror attack on a Mormon church. We had the ADL saying some rather insane things. Jonathan Greenblatt added again. Benjamin Netanyahu talking about the woke right and the importance of influencing American opinion on Israel. We'll be talking also about some positive steps that the Trump administration is taking against Antifa. We've actually seen some action on the ground from the Trump administration, which is fantastic to see. And we'll also be going over a piece in Reason magazine. Somehow the Lolberts are angry at me. I'm a very scary man. So we'll laugh together at all that. But before we do, let's hear from today's sponsor. You know, we spend a lot of time here talking about what's going on in culture and politics, the battles, the noise, the craziness. But here's something different. If you're a woman listening right now, or if there's a woman in your life that you care about, you need to hear this. It's called Share the Arrows, and it's happening on October 11th in Dallas, Texas. It's hosted by Blaze TV's own Allie Beth Stuckey, and it's designed to encourage, equip, and speak truth into the lives of women who are trying to stand firm in this world. This is a day full of worship, teaching, and real conversations. So if you're a woman who's been craving encouragement in biblical truth, this is for you. And if you're a husband or a dad or a brother listening, think about your wife, daughter, or sister who needs this. In a culture that's constantly pulling in the wrong direction, this is a chance to stop, reset, and get grounded in biblical truth. Tickets and details are at sharethearrows.com. And yes, VIP options are still available. That's sharethearrows.com. All right. So the first thing, we had a rather tragic event here in Michigan. Looks like we had a terror attack on a Mormon church there. A lot of people had speculated on who would be involved. Obviously, we've seen a string of left-wing terrorism here recently that has attacked ICE agents, has killed Charlie Kirk, has continued to have this extremely negative impact on kind of the national psyche and our understanding of the rule of law. Many people assumed that this would be a similar situation, rightfully so, given the fact that we already had a terror attack on a Catholic church. Remember, just a few weeks ago, multiple children were killed by a trans shooter in that scenario. So again, you can understand why everybody was on edge. I, like everybody else, was on edge, not knowing what had happened here. It looks like this one might be a little more complicated. From what we're seeing, the man involved was a 40-year-old Iraqi veteran. Now, there's been a lot of fog of war around this because obviously veterans don't have to be Republican or Democrat. I know plenty of left-wing veterans. I know plenty of right-wing veterans. So that doesn't really help us with anything. Some people were claiming that the man had a Stop Trump sign on his house. We had a Representative Eric Swalwell run out and post a photoshopped picture of the man with a pro-Donald Trump t-shirt on and claiming that it was a Republican who had done this. There was Republicans who were responsible for this violence. That is obviously a lie. And obviously, this is another, I think, instance of the Jimmy Kimmel effect, where now the leftist plan is to run out in front of anything before we know what's going on and claim that a Republican was responsible, plant fake evidence, tell lies, don't care about the truth in the slightest so that you can manipulate the situation. The truth is that we don't know if there was an ideological component to this. I'm sure this man, the authorities have said this was a targeted attack on Mormons. It was a attack of hate. But that is all we know at this moment. Perhaps we will learn more. Of course, if this was in any way right wing, in any way motivated in that way, we would obviously condemn it. We're not the left. We're not going to turn around and justify the murder of innocent people because they might have read a book that we liked or something. But we have no evidence of that. And of course, the left is trying their best to literally manufacture the evidence in hopes that they can finally find one attack that is not left wing, since there have been so many. It's very obvious that the left is very set on political violence, is committing large amounts of political violence in the United States. They desperately want to make this a both sides issue, but it keeps failing for them. That's why they have to keep lying. They lied about the ICE sniper. They lied about the Charlie Kirk sniper. And they lied about this guy as well, all in the hopes of pinning this on Republicans in multiple cases where either we knew it was a leftist for sure, or we're not sure where the violence came from. Again, pray for this community. Absolutely horrific. 4 people are dead, as my understanding, and multiple others have been wounded. The church was set afire, as well as the multiple people killed. The shooter himself was killed by officers who responded on the scene. However, this is going to open up a larger discussion we need to have. All right, so it's very clear that at this moment in the United States, there is a desire to kill Christians. I know some people are going to, whether we talk about Mormons or Christians or not, they were identified enough to be Christians to be part of a hate attack. So, we can definitely have that discussion. I certainly have my own opinions. I've made them clear before, but now is not the time to have that debate. Now is the time to rally around people who have been killed in a terror attack, have been targeted in a terror attack. And so I think that we need to recognize that ultimately churches are going to continue to be a target of terrorism. Again, remember, just a few weeks ago, multiple Catholic children killed because they were Christians. Okay. So this is now something that leftists are doing on a regular basis. Again, we don't know if this guy is a leftist, so I'm not making that claim here, but we do know that other attacks have been by whether it's the trans shooter in Nashville killing multiple Christians, including children, a year ago or a year ago now, or if it's the shooting at the Catholic school. It is very clear that churches have become a target of violence, particularly left-wing violence in the United States. So a couple things need to happen here. Okay, first, of course, your personal responsibility as a Christian man. Okay, it is your personal responsibility as a man, obviously, to defend you and yours. That's just your basic role. That is your reason for being. Many of us don't have to face violence on a regular basis anymore, which is a blessing of a somewhat civilized society. But to your core, you were made as a man to stand and defend those around you. So that's just your duty as a man. As a Christian man, obviously, it is your duty to protect the flock. The church is an extension of your family, and just as you would defend your family, you need to stand ready to protect the church. So that means that you need to get a firearm. You, Christian man, you need to get a firearm. If you don't own a firearm, you need to get one now, not later. Don't think about it. Don't make a lot of considerations. You need to arm yourself immediately. If you're a Christian man and you can purchase a firearm, you need to do so. Second, you need to be training with that firearm. Okay, you don't just go buy the firearm and throw it in a desk somewhere or in a closet in a nightstand. You need to be training on a regular basis. Okay, there are now very affordable pistols that are of good quality. That are not extremely expensive. You can get like the CZ P10s. You can get Shield, Smith & Wesson Shields. These are all $300 to $400. Reliable guns that are accurate and are not very expensive. You can go out. You can get these. You need to go to the range. Make sure you're running ammunition through that gun. Okay, you need to make sure that you have you can have cheaper ammunition for practice, but you need to be practicing with the ammo that you would be loading into your gun. You need to, even if it's more expensive, you need to make sure your gun reliably fires the self-defense ammo that you are purchasing. You can practice with the range ammo most of the time, but make sure your gun functions properly with that ammo. And you need to spend time, be intentional. You can, if cost is an issue, going to the range, ammo and range time can be expensive. It's a little bit of a investment up front, but there is a system. There are several different systems. I have one personally that is a you get a laser bullet, like you drop basically a laser pointer that goes off when you pull the trigger of your gun, and you get a target. You that comes with it. You put your phone in like a little uh, holder that looks at the target and reads where the laser goes, and this allows you to dry fire your weapon, practice your trigger pulls, practice drawing from a holster. You need to train. Okay, you need to spend time. That will give you the ability to uh, train at home for a less expensive in a less expensive way. You can train every day, and you should be. You should be training with your gun every day if you have one of these home systems. Okay, so do that. Practice with the gun. Practice dry firing at home. Take it to the range on a reasonable time. Spend time training. Okay. The next thing you need to do is prepare to conceal carry. You need to be carrying the gun with you when you go anywhere. Anywhere you go, you need to be carrying a gun as long as you are legally allowed to carry the gun there. Now, in my state, like Florida, you don't need a concealed carry permit. You can legally carry a gun without a concealed permit, again, as long as you're not carrying it into schools or specific government buildings. There are restrictions, but you can carry the gun without any special, background or training or anything like that. Now, there are some states, many states where you can open carry. Florida is actually one of those now. I do not suggest open carrying. That says, shoot me first. Okay. The upside of open carry in your state is that if there's some kind of accident, if your shirt blows up, your jacket blows up, the wind takes it, you get snagged on something, and somebody sees your gun in a concealed carry only state, you could get arrested, right? But if you could be in legal trouble. But if you are in an open carry state, then you are covered by the open carry law, even though you are concealed carrying. So I don't advise open carrying. I advise concealed carrying. Okay. I don't want the bad guy to know I have the gun. I don't want him to know that he should shoot me first or that he could take my gun because he can see it visibly. But the open carry laws are nice, because then if there's any kind of accident with printing or your gun being shown, you are covered. But you need to conceal carry. Get a good holster, a quality holster. Inside the waistband usually is the way to go. Make sure that the gun is something that you can conceal properly with your clothing. I'm not going to, maybe one day we'll get a breakdown on best concealed options and all those things. But these are just things you need to do. You need to buy a firearm. You need to be training with that firearm, know how to use it safely on a regular basis, not just take it to the range once to make sure it works. Time on trigger all the time. Spend your time learning how to fire that gun and carry it everywhere, because the last thing is you need to be carrying it in your church. Okay. It's just, you cannot outsource your safety to someone else in these times. Okay. Right now we are in a situation where violent leftists want to kill you. You need to be prepared in the instance that something happens to your church. Again, we don't know what the motivation was with this guy. I'm not blaming the left on, this one on the left, because we just don't know at the moment, but other situations have already occurred. You need to be prepared. You and your church need to be prepared to defend the people in that church. That means it is your duty, your individual duty. I don't want to hear about anyone else. We'll talk about the wider response in a second. But you listening to this right now, this is your duty. You cannot outsource it to anyone else. It is your job to protect yourself and the people around you, including your church. Your church should be filled with men packing guns, prepared to defend your church. The end. You can't outsource it to anyone else. Okay. If someone comes into your church, this guy drove a truck into the church. Okay. That was part of the attack. Something like that happens, there should be a hail of gunfire coming from the congregation to make sure that guy never takes a step out of that truck. Okay. So that is what you need to do. People ask me all the time, well, what can I do, Auron? It's just typing on the internet. It's just, this is what you can do right now. Here's your practical advice. Here is the step-by-step I am giving you. Purchase a gun, train with that gun constantly, learn how to wield it safely and effectively, and carry it wherever you go when it's legal, including the church. Okay? Your church should be ready. Now, on top of this, on top of your personal responsibility, every church in the United States needs to have a security rotation of their own people. Okay, this is not a job for outside security sources maybe if you got a good relationship with the police officers, my church has a great relationship with the police officers in my community. We always have two out front directing traffic, so there's a level of security there. Just because the number of people come in, it's impossible basically for my church to function without having the police escort people in and out with the traffic, because we just have too many people coming into the church. But beyond that, beyond the police, your church should have a defense program. Okay, many churches have former military, former law enforcement, current military law enforcement. These guys are trained. They need to enter into a rotation of protecting the entrances and exits of your church, especially the worship center. Obviously, that's where most of the terrorist attacks are going to take place. They're looking for large amounts of people, grouped together to be a target, to get the most kills. That's what these mass shootings are about. So they're almost always going to go for the worship center. So make sure that your church has organized a program. If your church doesn't have that program, you need to go to your pastor, go to your minister, go to your priest, and say, we need to start this now. And if they don't have a way to start it, you need to start it. You need to work with them and say, okay, I will find, if you're military or law enforcement, you should spearhead this. Okay, what can I do? This is what you can do. I don't want to hear about, there's nothing we can do. We don't get any advice on what to do. Do this now. You, as if you are military or law enforcement or former military or law enforcement, you need to go. And if your church does not have a security staff, again, this shouldn't be paid individuals. This should be the men of the church, the people of the church defending the church. It is your job. Don't look elsewhere. Don't hire security. You need to do it. Get these people together. They need to train. They need to be prepared. They need to have a watch. The guys at my church have the whole, the whole Secret Service earpiece thing going on and everything. They are in constant communication. They are watching everything. Every church needs to do this. This is no longer an option. This is a mandatory thing that your church has to do. If your church leaders are queasy about it, then you need to kindly but forcefully, with the love of God, but you need to let them know, I don't care. We care more about the lives of the people of this church than we do about any, what if people see scary people standing security and they don't want to walk into the church? No, I'm sorry. Those days are gone. Okay. Every church needs to have this program. So you personally need to train with a firearm and carry it with you in church. Be prepared to protect other people, but you also need a dedicated security team watching these entrances and exits. You can rotate them. We've got dozens of guys who do this, so it's not like the same 4 guys every week. You can rotate these people in and out. Obviously, the size of your congregation is going to determine the level of security coverage that you need, the number of people who can do this, that kind of thing. However, take initiative. Okay, you need to be involved in this. We are now in a climate simply where churches are terrorist targets. That's it. It's terrible. It's horrible. I don't like it. I wish it wasn't the case, but here we are, and we don't have time to pretend otherwise. So this is your duty as a man, as a Christian. You need to take responsibility on your level to prepare and to protect. And you also need to encourage your church to have a formal program apart from your personal carrying of a firearm of trained men. Again, hopefully you have law enforcement or military. You usually do in your church. They need to be standing guard on a regular basis. This is a non-negotiable at this point. Very sadly, this is the way things are, and you need to be prepared. All right, let's talk about some things that the Trump administration is doing right. The Trump administration took some good actions here, and we want to praise the Trump administration when they are doing good things, especially after we criticize them for not doing those good things yet. So let's take a look at what happened in Chicago recently when more ICE rioters decided to protest and cause damage at a ICE facility.
All right, we are live outside of Broadview Detention Center here in Broadview, Illinois. Federal agents are opening the gate now.
Yeah, they are.
They're assaulting these officers, and they find them. So it turns out that if you have a bunch of cockroaches and you just spray a few of them with pepper spray, they all run screaming, right? Antifa is not tough. They're just dangerous because literally no one is doing anything. The only reason that Antifa became a force at all was that we were just too cowardly to enforce the law. The minute you enforce the law, they go screaming, they go shrieking. They are children who can't do anything. These people are not tough. They are not trained. They have no resolution. The only reason, they're like little kids who found a weapon, right? It's all just a game to them until someone gets hit with, once they pull the trigger on the gun. But up until then, they all think it's a game. They all think it's a Marvel movie. They all think that, their 110-pound woman is going to do a bunch of karate and take out a bunch of federal agents. And in reality, they just come out and fire a couple of pepper spray balls at these people, and they just go absolutely shrieking into the night. So fantastic to see that the Trump administration is taking this seriously. This is followed up. Here's from Department of Homeland Security. They said during 11 rioters were arrested last night in Chicago's outside the ICE detention facility. There are 2 guns that were taken off the rioters in Chicago right against the fence of our detention maintenance facility. So these rioters showed up with firearms, right? Now, of course, you have the right to legally carry a gun in many cases. I hear Chicago's a little strict on that, though. Funny, I wonder how many leftists we're going to hear talking about the gun control laws in Chicago after these 2 guns were taken off these Antifa rioters, right? I thought the Chicago gun laws were supposed to prevent all of this crime. It's the solution, right? Just fix the gun laws. Just fix the gun laws. All you have to do is put more gun laws out there. Oh, wait, Chicago has some of the most restrictive gun laws in the world. And guess who's breaking them? Leftist terrorists. Because the gun laws don't do anything. So whenever anyone tells you, oh, we need more gun laws that'll stop these shootings, no, literally the murderers, the terrorists have the guns. Even the leftists who are pushing for gun control have the guns. These are the people who are pushing for gun control. They have guns in Chicago, where the gun control is the strictest. Okay. And in addition to these guns, also Canik. Oh, come on. Turkish guns. Really, people. Here we also have what seems to be an improvised explosive device. So it could be that not only are these people bearing guns, but they also have homemade explosives that they are looking to lob at ICE agents. So this is full on Days of Rage, anarchist bombing type terror attacks. Okay. That's what these people are doing. So thank God the Trump administration got it all together, right? And they said, okay, we knew that they were going for the long game. We knew that they were planning to take on the NGOs and put together a court case, and that's going to take a long time, maybe RICO, all this stuff. It's going to take time to do that. But in the meantime, they had to take control of the streets back. They had to show the left they couldn't keep doing what they were doing. They had to show that there were consequences for leftist violence. And I'm glad that they got that message and that they got involved. We got 11 different rioters arrested and guns. Now, I would have liked to seen everyone arrested. There's no reason that everyone shouldn't be arrested here. They're all involved. It's like J6. I want them all. Just take them all. Okay. But at least they arrested a good amount of people, got the most dangerous people with different weapons off of the street, including homemade explosives. Right. All right. So another positive thing that the Trump administration did recently. Remember, we had the woman who assaulted this officer in a New York City courtroom, and she got pushed to the ground because when you assault an officer and you reach, as you can see with her hands there, you can see the reach around his weapon. Was she going for the weapon? It doesn't matter. You don't know. In the heat of the moment, as a police officer, you do not know. If someone puts their hands on you, especially when they're putting their hand near your weapon, they are basically armed at that point. And she is very lucky that the only thing she got was a push. Okay. But she got pushed over. She fell down. The officer was momentarily suspended from duty. A lot of people said, hey, this is garbage. You need to stand behind your officer. And they did. He's been fully reinstated and he's fully returned to duty. So that is good. Again, glad to see that the Trump administration is listening, that they are taking this seriously, and that they are taking action. So we have the arrests, we have the reinstatement of this ICE officer. Another thing that is very interesting Andy No was reporting on this recently. He says, if you see the people in these green hats at far left riots, know that they are not independent legal observers, but are rather members of an Antifa legal group called the National Lawyers Guild. This group helps Antifa and far left terrorists escape prosecution. So, yeah, Andy No does a lot of reporting on Antifa. Obviously, he's famously been attacked by these people multiple times. But it's an interesting point. You know, a lot of people, the way the left tries to cover for Antifa is they say, "Oh, they're not real. It's not a real organization. It doesn't have an official central head. It hasn't like filed papers with the IRS, so it can't be a real organization." But they have a lawyers guild working for them. Like they literally have people attending their events. They're just to deploy themselves as like lawyers who can intervene or observe what's going on and prepare for legal defense of the Antifa rioters. Does that sound like an organization that is, well, not an organization? Is that just an idea? Antifa is just an idea, but it literally has organized legal counsel waiting to like get involved and sue people and try to get people out of jail. Does that sound like a ragtag operation? Does that sound like just a few guys getting together extreme? No, it's obviously a terrorist network. It's a terrorist network that literally has its own. It's the mob. It's the mob. Okay, they have their own legal apparatus prepared to bail them out of jail when they do crimes. It's the mob. It's organized crime. It's organized crime. That's why RICO needs to happen. These terror cells need to be taken down. Again, glad to see that the Trump administration has begun work on that. More arrests, please continue. Go for the whole protest next time. Every one of these people assaulting police officers and assaulting ICE officers, they should be arrested. Go for it. But definitely glad to see Trump administration starting to take this far more seriously. And you can tell they really took it seriously because Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, has officially deployed the National Guard to Portland, Oregon, which is constantly under Antifa violence. Sees a lot of Antifa violence there, very active in Portland, Oregon. And the National Guard has been deployed to keep the city safe. So again, great to see. Great steps. Great response by the Trump administration. As we say here, always chimp, trust the plan. Okay, so we make our voices known. We let the Trump administration know what our concerns are, and we see responses. That is great news. Okay, that is great news, and I'm glad to see the Trump administration taking action on this. So very glad that they are being deployed to Portland to make sure that the National Guard will be protecting ICE agents as they operate there as well. All right, so we got the church attack. We talked about, I think that's all of our Antifa stuff. All right, so let's move on to some of our favorite topics here. Oh, sorry, one more good thing the Trump administration did. I knew there was one more. One of my followers sent this to me. It looks like the Trump administration has been helping to crack down on illegal truck drivers in the United States. We know that there is a epidemic of foreign truck drivers who are not qualified driving on American streets. Now, we don't want them anyway because we don't need foreigners taking good American jobs. Truck driving is a classic blue collar job that allows someone who doesn't have a lot of training, doesn't have a lot of experience, can still make a good living and support a family. That was a classic American job for a long time. The long haul trucker was able to elevate himself beyond kind of the lower income working poor status because of the availability of good jobs like this one. And the fact that foreigners have captured a portion of that is already bad, but it is also very unsafe. Of course, we all remember multiple people killed by a Indian truck driver who should not have been operating a truck in Florida here recently. So it looks like ICE has worked with the state of Oklahoma to take 130 truck drivers off the road as part of a 3-day sting on drivers who could not read road signs, did not understand the law. So again, good to see that the Trump administration has stayed on this. They didn't just issue a press release somewhere and then move on. They've stayed on this. They are clearing these illegal drivers off of our roads. They are forcing illegal immigrants out of these positions. Good. Very glad to see this. Good work, ICE. Good work, Trump administration. Good work, state of Oklahoma. which is working with these people. And in the story, it said that the majority of these people are getting their licenses from California. So Gavin Newsom is, of course, just minting licenses for foreign truck drivers to kill people in the United States. He is garbage. He has been calling basically for like the murder of Stephen Miller by calling him a fascist regularly on his social media account. Or obviously he's probably not doing it. He's probably got some intern doing it. But just a cursed governor, completely horrific. But glad that states like Oklahoma are stepping up in concert with the Trump administration. So great job there. All right, so now let's talk about everybody's favorite topic, Israel. All right, so here's a recent meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu, who has decided that he needs to reduce anti-Semitism and anti-Israeli feelings on the internet. And so he had a conference with a large number of influencers to try to figure out their strategy for how they were going to change American opinion. Let's take a listen.
Influencers, okay. You said, we talked about the woke right, and you said, I call it the woke Reich. That's a brilliant observation. The woke Reich, because these people.
Oh man, the Prime Minister of Israel is calling everyone woke right. I wonder where that term came from. At the conference where he's talking about how important it is to use social media influencers to drive Israel's understanding of the world, to promote Israel's reach, to sway the opinions of Americans on the state of Israel. He deploys the term woke right. Oh man, what a shocker there.
No, they're not any different from the woke left. I mean, they're insane. They're but they're actually meeting on some of the things. And what we have to do is we have to secure that part of the base of our support in the United States. That is being challenged systematically.
So we need to secure that base of our support in the United States. Let me translate that for anyone who was missing it. We need to manipulate public opinion in the United States. We need to make sure that other people aren't allowed to hold opinions we don't like in the United States, right? That's what he's saying. I just wanted to make it clear. If Vladimir Putin was brazen enough to say this out loud, we'd be talking about the next round of sanctions we need to drop on Russia, right? We'd be talking about the foreign influence operations, impacting our election, buying our politicians. We'd be talking about all of that from Russia or China if they said this stuff out loud. And we should, because I don't want Russia or China influencing my politics. But Netanyahu's just bragging about it. Like, here's our plan. We're going to attack the woke right, and we are going to use our influence to manipulate public opinion in the United States.
A lot of this is done with money. Money of NGOs, vast. Money of governments, vaster. Okay? We have to fight back.
Now, again, I agree that I don't want any foreign nation manipulating the politics of my nation. And this doesn't just mean Israel. It's not just Israel here. China, I don't want them influencing it. Ukraine, I don't want them influencing it. Russia, I don't want them influencing us. I certainly don't want any place like Qatar or Saudi Arabia influencing us. I'm not just singling Israel out here. I don't think any of these nations should have this foreign influence. And I understand why they want it. I don't care. We should be making every one of these people file under FARA. None of these people should be allowed to walk around as if they are working in the interest of America when they're actually working for a foreign government. But that also includes Israel. Okay, I get what he's saying here. We have to do defense because everybody else is influencing. Well, first, I mean, come on, man. That's just kind of insulting. Like, all these other countries are using money and NGOs and influencing politicians. Yeah, you don't say. No. Would be terrible if a country did that, right? Like, kind of audacious to like, yeah, well, everyone else is doing what we've been doing for a long time, so we got to do it. Well, yeah, I guess, but like, come on, man. So ultimately, like, I get what he's saying here. Like, he's worried that these other countries are influencing the United States and undoing all the work he's done influencing the United States, and they're using a lot of the stuff that they used to influence the United States. So now we got to get in there and we got to do it, right? So I get it. I don't want any of it. It's not that I just don't want Israel doing it. I don't want anyone doing it. But he's just admitting that he's basically, we're in 5G warfare, right? We're in 5th generation warfare where he's just actively we're constantly battling over the control of the American state, over American public opinion. I don't want these people influencing American public opinion. I don't want Israel doing it. I don't want China doing it. I don't want Russia doing it. I don't want any of these people doing it. I don't want Qatar doing it. I don't want any of these people doing it. Get all of this foreign influence out of my country. This is what George Washington warned us about. If we make a favored nation our favored nation, a foreign country, a favored nation, then our entire country will be open to foreign subversion, which will destroy our republic. These are George Washington's words when he left office at the very beginning of our country. If we let these people become our favored nation, then it will be a dividing line between our country, and it will manipulate our opinion, and they will pour money and they will pour influence into our country and destroy our republic. No, I don't want anyone doing this, Israel included.
How do we fight back? Our influencers?
How do we fight back? Our influencers. Our influencers. He owns them. Our influencers. The ones that are acting in America. Our influencers. Interesting.
You should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community, they're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. You know, the weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well. Okay, and you can't fight with cavalry. That doesn't work very well. And you have these new things, you know, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are the social media.
So he's openly describing American public opinion as a battlefield on which Israel is waging war. Now, again, I don't want to single just Israel out here. Many other nations are doing this. All of them need to be expelled. All of them. China shouldn't own a single piece of land in the United States. We should stop importing any Chinese nationals. They shouldn't be coming to our colleges. I don't want any of these people being involved. I don't want Arab money here. I don't want Ukrainian money. I don't want any of this stuff here. Okay. But he is openly explaining this. And remember, this is a country we send billions of dollars to every year. That's not even including like military excursions that we kind of initiate on their behalf or participate in on their behalf. Just as a baseline, we send these people billions of dollars every year. And he's explaining how he needs to use money and influencers to control American public opinion because it is a battlefield on which Israel must wage war. We are paying Israel to influence us to pay money to Israel. It's insane. It's insane. Okay, again, you don't have to hate Israel to think that this is bad. You don't. You can support the state of Israel as its own separate country and still think this is bad, right? I wouldn't want England. I support England being a nation. Actually, I wish they would get rid of their current government. But I support the idea of England as its own nation. I don't want England buying influence in the United States. When the Labor Party sent people to work for Joe Biden's campaign, I was just as angry then about the foreign influence. It's not just Israel, but it's obviously Israel. And we're sending these people billions of dollars, and he's openly talking about how he's going to use money to manipulate our public opinion because it's a battlefield he has to wage war in.
And the most important purchase that is going on right now is class
Followers.
TikTok. TikTok, number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential. And the other one, what's the other one that's most important? X. That's very good. And, so we have to talk to Elon. He's not an enemy. He's a friend.
So he talks about the need to purchase online platforms like TikTok that might allow information or viewpoints that he doesn't like on there. Same thing with Twitter, right? He says, you hear one of the influencers in the meeting saying, it's a cesspool, right? They need to control the information on these social media platforms. He's just saying this openly. Again, the UK is talking about this kind of stuff too, but we reject that. The UK government is talking about the need to try to censor X, but we reject that. Germany says that. We reject that. Why aren't we rejecting it with Israel? Again, I don't want any of these countries controlling the social media in my country. But that includes Israel. They are on the list, including England and Germany and China, of places I don't want to control my social media. And yet Netanyahu's saying, we need to do this. We need to get control of these platforms. So again, you don't have to have like hate in your heart for Israel or Jewish people in general to say, I do not want foreign influence in my country. I don't have to hate Russians to say, I don't want Russia influencing my elections. I don't have to hate Ukrainians to say, I don't want Ukrainians influencing my government and begging for money from my government. You don't have to hate anyone in Israel to say, I don't want them getting billions of dollars from me and then turning around and apparently working with influencers in the United States to change the opinion as if it's a battlefield on which Israel is fighting. Okay. And if you're one of these conservatives who's like, I stand against public sector unions because they get money from the taxpayer and then they turn around and, then they turn around and they spend that money on influencing us, influencing politicians, buying politicians. If you've ever someone who's made that argument about public sector unions, guess what? This is the same thing, right? This is the same thing. And if you make a special exception for Israel, it's because you didn't have any principles on that anyway. You're just carving out a special exception for Israel. All right. The ADL. Here is Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL speaking about all of the new things that he needs to do to crush opposing opinions in the United States.
Playing defense. We stopped playing defense and have moved to offense. You see this in our focus on the courts. In the past 12 months, ADL's filed more lawsuits than the prior 112 years against extremist groups, elite universities, public companies, school districts, and state sponsors of terror. We've launched innovative products to intercept anti-Semitism before it takes root, whether in the boardroom or in chat rooms, large language models or academic associations, in Wikipedia entries or WhatsApp chats. This work matters, not just for the Jewish people, but for all of society.
So he says here that in addition to the ADL launching like a record number of lawsuits, which of course it has been doing for a very long time, but in addition to it launching a record number of lawsuits, the ADL is also, according to Jonathan Greenblatt, launching innovative products. So surveillance software, right? That's what he's saying here. We've launched surveillance software that will stop you having the wrong think discussions in a boardroom or a chat room. It doesn't matter if you're building a large language model or you have an academic association or you're entering something in Wikipedia or in your WhatsApp chat, in your personal chat. In your WhatsApp chat, we're monitoring you. We're deploying surveillance on you. This is the ADL talking about how it's surveilling American citizens to stop them from having the wrong type of discussions. The ADL needs to go. This is insane. The ADL has been a hate organization for many, many years. It has been doing nothing but attacking people, getting them, making them lose their job, lose their company, get debanked, destroying their lives. The ADL is a hate group that targets and tries to dismantle the American people. Okay. I saw people saying, oh man, the ADL, all they do is increase anti-Semitism. I thought that's what they were not supposed to do. Guys, the purpose of a system is what it does. If the ADL says it's supposed to get rid of anti-Semitism, but it's promoting more anti-Semitism by its constant attacks on America, then the purpose of ADL is not to reduce anti-Semitism. The purpose of the ADL is to destroy the United States. And that's what it does. The ADL exists to destroy the United States of America. It is not a civil rights group. It's not an anti-hate group. It is a pro-hate group. It hates the United States. The purpose of the system is what it does. Jonathan Greenblatt does not reduce anti-Semitism. He destroys the United States. He builds programs with the intent of spying on American citizens and destroying their lives. He just said it openly. So yeah, the ADL needs to go. Now, not only did he make this announcement, but many people have recently noticed that in addition, the ADL has also declared Turning Point an anti-Semitic organization, right? Let's see here. Yeah, it's listed under extremist and hate groups for them. The TPUSA. Charlie Kirk loved Israel. He loved Israel, but he disagreed with some of what Israel was doing. And just that disagreement, that having any disagreement at all, there were problematic comments at TPUSA. They get listed as a hate group under the ADL. They get listed in their glossary of extremism and hate home, right? That's what they're doing. Charlie Kirk's organization listed as a hate organization. Absolutely, absolutely insane. Okay. These people need to have their organization dismantled. It is a threat to the United States. It is an attack on Americans. It is an attack on their ability to speak. It's an attack on their ability to care about their own homeland. It is an attack on their ability to communicate and work. As free people, the ADL is designed to attack America and its values, to the point where it will even label TPUSA as some dangerous organization because at some point a speaker said something they didn't like. Even though the organization overall is pro-Israel, the fact that their founder, Charlie Kirk, loved Israel didn't matter. They had questions, and so they had to go. They need to go. Absolutely, absolutely say the ADL needs to be dismantled. It should be investigated along with all these NGOs. I hope Trump is including this. Listen, I hope Trump and Pam Bondi are including this in their network of possible Antifa helpers, pro-Antifa organizations. Because remember, the ADL does not list Antifa as a hate group or a terrorist organization. It says, it goes with the leftist line, that Antifa is an idea. So they give Antifa a pass, but they demonize Turning Point USA. The people who killed Charlie Kirk get a pass from the ADL, but Charlie Kirk is denounced. These people should be investigated. Now, I don't have a lot of hope for that because of what Pam Bondi said when she was asked about this. Far more likely that she'll be defending the ADL than prosecuting them, but she should, because they are clearly one of the organizations that is helping to normalize Antifa's violence. You should be going after them under RICO, just like you're going after all these other NGOs. And if you don't, we know why. We know why. We know why you're giving a pass to the organization that demonizes Charlie Kirk's organization, but gives a free pass to the people who killed him. We know if you don't do this. So please, Trump administration has done a lot of great stuff last few days. Big fan. Here's another one. Here's another homework assignment, guys. The ADL should be investigated along with all of these other NGOs that are assisting Antifa because they clearly are providing cover for them. They're clearly running cover. They're printing lies about Antifa while demonizing Turning Point USA. They are printing lies to defend Antifa, to cover for Antifa, while they are excoriating the organization of the man that Antifa killed. We obviously need to fix this. Okay? All right, so let's go to the actual main theme of the show, which was the Reason Magazine article. Going to be a little longer today, guys. Didn't mean to go quite that long, but here we are. All right, so Reason Magazine. Now, before I get into this, just want to remind you that, of course, Reason Magazine is the Lolbert magazine. Okay, this is obviously I'll go with the not all libertarians here because somewhere the Mises Institute guys are like, we're not these guys. Okay, I got it. The Beltway Libertarians, though some of you would say this about me as well. So the Beltway Libertarians are mainly, useless at this point. When's the last time anyone cared about what Reason Magazine said? You can't really think about it. But I got my first hit piece, and I feel like having gotten my first hit piece, I should investigate what the fine, sharp minds of the Lolberts have to say about me. First, you can see The American new right looks a lot like the European old right. Ah, hello, fellow Europeans. When conservatives reject constitutional limits on executive power and foment civil conflict, what exactly are they conserving? You can see here, we've got very scary men like myself, Curtis Yarvin, Yoram Hazony, the infamous, dangerous Yoram Hazony of the woke right, Daryl Cooper, and Carl Schmidt. Because, of course, we need to put Carl Schmidt in everything. That's what makes everything so scary and dangerous. Carl Schmidt. Now, the funny thing is, I have actually interviewed all of these people, even guys like Daryl Cooper and Yoram Hazony, who probably don't see very eye to eye. But I have interviewed all of these people on my channel, except Carl Schmidt, because I would need some necromancy to pull that off. So if you know how to make that work, I guess let me know. But otherwise, I'll have to make do with having only interviewed 3 of these people. All right. So let's go in and read a little bit of our fine thought piece from Reason Magazine here. There was a time when the American right was conservative, appreciated inherited wisdom, skeptical of rationalism, wary of excessive government power, and against radical change. Exemplified by figures like William Buckley Jr. and Ronald Reagan, American conservatism is, in the word of the Dispatch's Jonah Goldberg, a political philosophy that defends the revolutionary idea of classical liberalism. So remember, libertarians hate Republicans. They hate conservatives, right? They don't like Buckley. They don't like Ronald Reagan. And Jonah Goldberg, I mean, come on, the liberal fascism guy, that's who we're going to appeal to here. So you can tell right away, these people are just completely controlled opposition, right? They don't care at all. They will lie. They will, this is the guy who's like, oh, Christianity, aren't you supposed to just like have open borders? Well, are you Christian? Well, no, but since you're Christian, I can just lie and use this against you. Like, it's the exact same thing, right? These people don't believe in any of these people. They don't agree with any of these values. They reject these values. But we know that somewhere, a Fox News viewer might say, I like Ronald Reagan. So we're just going to throw that out there. The new right is not interested in defending these distinctively American ideas, drawing instead on collectivist, nationalist, and even monarchist traditions from continental Europe. This new right seeks to wield the tools of government to advance its own social, cultural, and religious priorities. That's right. For years, the new right, by its own admission, has rejected the tenets of classical liberalism, including individual liberty, mutual toleration, and limited government. But following the recent assassination of conservative commentator Charlie Kirk, the new right has doubled down on its authoritarian tendencies by reviving the cultural teachings of Carl Schmitt, one of the Nazis' chief legal minds. So several things are not true here. First, we did not reject the American founding. Many of us at least do not. I have made thorough references to George Washington's farewell address, to the Federalist Papers, Hamilton's beliefs, John Adams' beliefs. I have dug deeply into many essays by guys like John Jay, and they of course just blow past all of this to say we embrace the cultural teachings of Carl Schmitt. Now, this is a lie. Reason Magazine is just lying. I'm not going to bother to sue them, but they're obviously committing libel here. Libel's written, right? I think I got that right. Anyway, so Carl Schmitt is a political theorist and a jurist. He does not have cultural teachings. That's just a lie. What I and others have noted is that Carl Schmitt made true observations about politics in the same way that Werner von Braun made correct assessments of how rockets work. You don't have to be a Nazi to take von Braun's work and go to the moon. You don't have to be a Nazi to take Carl Schmitt's work and say, hey, this is an accurate assessment of how certain aspects of politics work. Those are not cultural teachings. So this is just a lie outright. The friend-enemy distinction pioneered by Schmitt, they just explain, well, I guess I'll read how they explain it. Pioneered in Schmitt's In the Concept of the Political, first published as a journal article in 1927, sorts people by collective identities pitted in a struggle for control of the decision-making powers of the society. It does not do that. That is how people work. This is like saying that Newton invented gravity, or that Einstein invented Yeah, it's like sorry, all of a sudden I can't remember a guy who set up the bomb. Anyway, this is like saying that Newton invented gravity, and that because he correctly observed the way in which gravity works. And thank you, Oppenheimer. Thank you. Finally, that somehow Oppenheimer created, like, because he correctly understood how nuclear energy works, and how to make bombs out of it. Therefore, he created that property of physics. That is not true. He simply observed the way that politics works. Schmidt, who's been called the crown Judas of the Third Reich, argued with a political community's ability to govern or indeed survive at all depended on the powerful executive wielding the power of the state against those who oppose the people's interests. Yes, he did. So did Thomas Hobbes. Why didn't you mention Thomas Hobbes as a scary influence on the new right? Oh, because he's considered a classical liberal. Like, Carl Schmitt is just drawing from Thomas Hobbes. So why aren't you talking about the scariness of Thomas Hobbes? Because you just want to call people Nazis. Because if you just said, oh, the new right is drawing on Thomas Hobbes, that wouldn't sound as scary. So this has nothing to do with actually being worried about the intellectual caliber of the arguments, or it's just saying Nazi, Nazi, Nazi. That's all Reason is doing. And of course, in this environment, we know what calling someone a Nazi does. It marks them for death. So Reason Magazine is just the centrist hand of what? Antifa here? We're going to go labeling all these people as Nazis so that we can get them killed. Is that the plan? Thanks, guys. Liberalism, be it classical or modern, challenges such Manichaean distinctions and restricted the ability of political community to govern by centralized decree. Schmidt saw right-based individualism, a preference for private over public decision-making, and a legal order rooted in universal rules as sources of paralysis that impeded decisive action. All right, they complain some more about how bad Carl Schmitt is. Let's get down to where, here we go. All right. One of the more vocal neo-Schmittians. Ooh, a neo-Schmittian. He means a neo-Nazi. They're trying to call me a Nazi. They're trying to get me hurt. They want people like Antifa to hurt me. That's what Reason Magazine is trying to do. They're trying to side with people who want to get us killed. One of the more vocal neo-Schmittians is Auron MacIntyre, podcaster and writer for The Blaze and the internet popularizer of post-liberalism. MacIntyre has a long-time affinity for Schmitt. No, I just know that he's one of the critical political theorists that you have to talk about. Do I have an affinity for Machiavelli, who I talk about all the time? Bertrand de Juvenal, Joseph de Maistre, Aristotle, Alistair MacIntyre. Why didn't you list any of those names, Reason Magazine? Oh, because you're liars. You're liars who are just trying to smear people and get them killed. That's why you didn't list any of the other thinkers that I go out in far more detail to discuss. Couldn't be bothered. Only talked about Schmitt. I wonder why. Describing the friend-enemy distinction as the true essence of the political. In his 2024 book, The Total State, he denounces the classical liberal conception of democracy as America's founding myth and turns to Schmitt as the antidote. No, I don't. That's a lie. Yet again, I do not turn to Schmitt as an antidote. In fact, I specifically decry him as an antidote. I say he has a correct assessment of certain aspects of politics, but I in no way embrace his solutions to this problem. The solutions that I embrace are Aristotelian or, from Bertrand de Juvenal. That's where my solutions come from. Or the Federalist Papers. They do not come from Carl Schmitt. In the book, I specifically denounce fascism. I specifically denounce totalitarianism. But they don't do anything. They don't mention any of that because they're liars and they want to get people killed. They are in lockstep with Jimmy Kimmel. They are in lockstep with Eric Swalwell. They are in lockstep with Antifa. They are lying and trying to get people killed. Although he brushes aside Schmitt's Nazi affiliation as deeply unfortunate. Yeah, you mean I denounce it. What you mean is I directly denounce his Nazism. Seems like a pretty big detail that you might want to focus on, but no, that's not what this piece is for. This is a leftist guilt by association piece. You've got intellectual cooties. You read something naughty, and so you should be hurt. In the wake of Kirk's assassination, MacIntyre's podcast has transformed into a full-fledged Schmidt show. No? I think I might have mentioned Carl Schmidt like once. But okay. Example of the frenemy distinctions abound. MacIntyre said on September 19th that the companies like Discord need to pay a severe price for going out of their way to allow an organization of terrorist networks on their platform. Yeah? You shouldn't allow them to like allow people to organize murdering people. Is Reason pro the organization of terrorism? Is Reason magazine coming out and defending the right of people to organize the murder of Charlie Kirk? Because it sounds like Reason magazine is coming out and encouraging people to allow for the organization of terrorism to murder people like Charlie Kirk. Let's see. They talk about law saying that, yeah, social media platforms aren't responsible. Yes, I understand. Supreme Court precedent notwithstanding, MacIntyre insists that actions needed to be taken. Too many people are dead. Yes, you can't just let them kill people. I know you're libertarians. I know you're worthless, but like, you're really going to just let people murder your friends and family? That's the plan? In the name of like corporations not having to stop people from planning murders? We don't have time to hesitate. It's just my words, I guess. So I'm not going to read my words. Despite this ominous remark, what was the? I'll go with their emphasis here, the italics, and that's going to take some stuff that might make you queasy. Yes, I also said it can all be done under the color of law, so I made very clear that everything should be done legally. I think that kind of matters, right? You should take legal action to stop murders, even if it makes people uncomfortable. Yes, squishes like Reason don't want us to defend our families. In fact, it sounds like they want to send people to hurt our families. So yeah, I think we should actually stop people from killing our families. But thank you, Reason Magazine, for letting us know that libertarianism is a suicidal ideology. Despite this honest remark, MacIntyre says he has plenty of principles, which include taking care of his country and his family and his community and his faith. Yeah, those are my principles. To defend these principles, MacIntyre says we're going to need to make sure that the left knows that there's a cost for what they've done. Yes, you can't just keep murdering people. Thousands of people need to go to jail and they need to be bankrupted. Yes, you can't run Antifa cells. You can't plan to murder Charlie Kirk. You can't plan to murder ICE agents. You can't bring your guns and homemade explosives to a riot. You can't assault police officers. Sorry, Reason Magazine. I know you're in favor of all this stuff. I have the radical position of not being in favor of it. Unless MacIntyre believes in punishing innocent for crimes they did not commit, he's promoting the subversion of principles to main principles. So this is a lie. Again, Reason Magazine is lying directly. I say in the very video that they are talking about, we should only go after people for crimes they have committed. That it's illegal, and we should go after people who are illegal. So Reason Magazine is just lying. They're just telling a bald-faced lie, hoping that their audience is too stupid to know what they're saying. Like, if you just watch the video, I say very clearly, you should not go after anyone, like, just randomly. You should go after people who have committed crimes. And these things are crimes. Criminal conspiracy to commit murder is a crime. Assaulting officers is a crime. Funding people who are about to do terrorism is a crime. I just want the law to be enforced. But they say, oh, you're going after innocent people. He compounds this illogic with the fallacy of misplaced concreteness. The left didn't kill Charlie Kirk, and evil gunmen did. Here's the funny thing. It turns out Antifa is just an idea to reason to. Turns out Antifa is not real, guys. And we haven't seen multiple leftist commentators openly supporting them, cheering them on, funding them. It's not the left, guys. It's not real. It's just that libertarians are just leftists. They're not anything different. They're just leftists. That's it. They're just leftists who are pushing a leftist agenda. You could have put this thing in Mother Jones and it would have sounded exactly the same. Reason Magazine is just another leftist commie rag. That's it. Here's the beautiful part. They finally have to admit that I didn't say most of the stuff that they just said, and they have to put it in They put it in like parentheses here for some reason. MacIntyre does caveat his remarks by saying there's nothing that President Trump can't do under the law that he needs to get done right now. So they lied in the sentence before, and then they put the fact that they lied in like parentheses. Like they openly lied about what I said, and then in the next thing they're like, well, he caveated the remark by actually saying exactly what we said he didn't say. But this is cold comfort because the law can be used to excuse moral atrocities. Schmidt was, after all, a legal theorist. So again, they're just lying directly and then being like, well, but he read Carl Schmitt sometimes, so probably doesn't mean it. You know, just complete lies. It's unclear to whom the specific plural third person extends, and that's the point. MacIntyre intends to create a us versus them paradigm that subverts American moral order and mutual respect and reciprocity, recognition of rights. No, I think it was the bullet going through Charlie Kirk's neck that did that. I think the bullet that hit Donald Trump's ear that did that. Actually, I think the people shooting at us are the ones subverting the moral paradigm and creating an us versus them mentality. I think the people who were cheering for Charlie Kirk's death were creating a us versus them mentality. Did Reason Magazine run any articles on that? Did I miss that one? Oh, that's right, because they're just leftists. They're just leftists. Let's see here. Replacing with friend, enemy. Blah, blah, blah. This is not idle speculation. The day after Charlie Kirk's assassination, MacIntyre posted the specific political distinction to which every political action and motive can be reduced is friend, enemy, and a liked comment on the aforementioned video ominously leads friend, enemy distinction time. Yeah, so we're noticing that people are trying to kill us, and that means that they're an enemy. Like, if Antifa tries to murder you, they're probably not your friend. I feel pretty comfortable saying that people who are trying to kill us are not our friends. But okay. They go on to talk about how Curtis Yarvin is really scary, and I talk about him, that Daryl Cooper is very scary, and I've talked to him. Actually, it's funny. They say that Daryl Cooper is also a Schmittian, is a committed Schmittian. I don't think I've ever heard Daryl Cooper discuss Carl Schmitt at all. Like, I'm sure he's probably said at some point that, you know, something like the friend enemy distinction stuff, but I've never seen Daryl Cooper like go in on at any length about this. So again, just complete lies. They're just nothing but a smear job. So you get the idea, guys. This is where this is the state of libertarians. Again, I know there's some good ones out there. God bless you. But maybe you guys can finally just separate yourselves from these absolute garbage people. Maybe it's time to stop siding in any way with these people. All right. To the questions of the people here today. Chan the man says, not saying it's the motive, but I've seen regular anti-Mormon stuff from the left prior to this, especially ex-members of ex-Jehovah / Christians, IRL too. Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of leftists who hate Mormons. That would be of no surprise here. But again, I don't know for sure. There's already plenty of legitimate leftist violence that we can easily tie to them. I don't want to muddy the waters by tying things I can't prove. So I want to stick to the good examples so that when you make this argument to people who might be on the fence, you can show them all the very obvious and direct examples rather than throw things out there that you might not know. But of course, it's entirely possible that you're correct. Thirstworm says, very funny seeing so many of the Reason guys being up on arms over after October 7th, literally raving nationalists about another country, not America, though. I mean, this was Walter Block, right? Like one of the most famous libertarians at all, but all of a sudden he's a statist only for Israel. I mean, so yeah, this is a theme throughout much of certain parts. There are, of course, many parts of the libertarian movement that are not fans of Israel, but all of the Beltway mainstream Reason Magazine types tend to be, yeah. Thirstworm says anti-Mormon documentaries are very popular among lefties, and right now women I date have encyclopedic knowledge of Mormon scandals somehow. Well, first, stop dating those women, but also, yeah, entirely possible. Again, I don't know enough about like Mormons and scandals that come out around Mormons and anything like that. I'm just completely uninformed. So I'm not going to like speculate on any of that, but I would believe you entirely that leftists hate Mormons. That would not be a shock to me at all. Again, you can debate Christianity and its extent but they certainly are coded as Christians for the left. They hate Mormons just the same as they hate any other Christian. Zero the Hero says libertarians' fundamental flaw is not realizing nations are compromised of social connections. There is no nation until people form healthy bonds. Lots of the ideas decriminalizing drugs destroy social cohesion. Yes, libertarians fundamentally do not understand how to make a functional civilization. They kind of assume, they start from the assumption that everyone is a highly civilized 130 IQ classical liberal, and therefore they know how to operate in a society and they don't need any kind of instruction or any kind of state or anything like that. Of course, that's not true. So these misunderstandings, bad anthropology always leads to bad outcomes, and the libertarians are certainly in that camp. Jichism Dell says, owning a gun is level 0. Having trusted friends who train with is what everyone should be focused on. Absolutely. And you should be buying digital radios with AES 256 transmission, surplus Motorola's P25s still out there. All right, well, there you go. I guess radios that exist. But yes, you should most certainly be training with friends. Find other people who have the same values as you and make sure that you guys are trading together. The tiny stupid demon says, like Jesse Kelly, I wanted an edit of that woman on the video screaming as my phone ringtone. Yeah, there is a certain level of Schadenfreude that just oozes out of that shriek. Cooper Weirdo says, apes together strong. That is all. Yes, always be chimping. Matt Greedier says, really trying not to blackpeel, so I appreciate you highlighting the wins, but Pam Bondi, Cash Patel, and Christy Nome really make it difficult. They don't have the right instincts. This is obviously true. I've already called for the replacement of Pam Bondi. Unfortunately, that's about as much as I can do. But yeah, it doesn't seem like we are have our most effective troops in those positions. I sure would appreciate it if we did. Titus Stupid Demon says, how at this point in time are there still libertarians? Don't bother answering that. I won't bother, but thank you. We're all wondering it. Ruler of the Donut says, Auron, thank you for not being one of many nasty ghouls who say this is bad, but Mormons aren't fascists. I mean, are not Christians. Yeah, again, that's a debate for another time. I have my issues with doctrine, but ultimately, these are people who are, as far as I can tell, very good people, are often aligned with us. And like I said, they are Christian enough, they are coded Christian enough to receive violence and hatred from the left. So, it's best not, there are plenty of Catholics who think that I am not Christian and won't go to heaven because I am not part of the Catholic Church. I hear this from them all the time. Whatever, I disagree. Now is not the time. At the moment, if someone shoots up a Catholic church, I'm going to defend Catholics. If someone shoots up a Mormon church, I'm going to defend Mormons. We can hash the details out later. We have an existential fight against an enemy who wants to destroy us. So, inside the friend coalition. That's right. I said it. Matt Grenier says, telling that Netanyahu feels that the need to talk to Elon about X, the only social media website where you basically have universal unrestricted free speech. Yeah, and even there, not always, but yeah, it is certainly clear that the Israeli government is very worried about the fact that people can speak freely on Twitter because the head of the Israeli government just said it out loud. Enrico Palazzo says, this is disgusting disgusting woke right propaganda. That's what I hear. Creeper Weirdo says, what does it say that a lot of us had a libertarian phase before becoming more right-wing? Also, the Libertarian Party is a joke. Well, okay, so this is, people will ask me all the time, why do you talk to so many libertarians? Why are you talking to Dave Smith? Why are you bringing Tom Woods on the show? Why are you talking, to all these different libertarians? And the answer is because they're just like one step away from being on our team, guys. Like, we've all seen the libertarian to right-wing pipeline. I mean, a lot of us were libertarians at some level, and then we, got older and we figured it out. So yeah, there's a reason that I talk to these people because they're so close to getting it. And the only thing that's stopping them is this like ideological obsession. And if you can just break them of that obsession, then look, it's like Dave the Distributist talking to leftists, right? Like I feel the need to speak with libertarians and try to bring them to the other side. I feel like that's a duty that I have. So I try my best. Thirstworm says, notice how Netanyahu will never go against the ADL for labeling his good friend Charlie Kirk and his organization as extremists. Yeah, this is This is a game that gets played a lot, unfortunately. It's this organization, we don't agree with everything they say. Well, will you denounce them? Well, no. They're attacking people who theoretically supported us. They're demonizing them, but we kind of like what they're doing, so we'll just kind of turn a blind eye to that. Everyone can kind of see that. Like everyone knows what you're doing there. Florida Henry says, what would be the legality of organizing, making citizens arrests of Antifa force the issue? So I would encourage you not to take that action yet, because we are seeing the Trump administration start to take action in the streets. Okay. I do not advise you to go out and do battle with Antifa. Okay. We've seen how that goes. And unfortunately, in many places, they just end up arresting all the right wingers. Remember the Proud Boys, guys? That is basically what that was for, right? So we're not going out and challenging Antifa in street level politics. We have, at least in theory, control of the government, and the government should be the ones stopping this. However, you do need to be prepared for the fact that Antifa is out there and may try to hurt you and yours. So you should be armed. You should be ready. You should be prepared. You should be training with people in case you need them. But right now, I would not advise going out in groups and picking fights with Antifa and try to make citizens arrests. We are starting to see the Trump administration take action. We should encourage them to take more action. When we see a response, after we demand a response, we should say, good, more. Okay? That's what it should be. Great job. Now do more of it. That should be our first response. If ultimately the government does nothing, well, that's a different scenario, but we're not there yet. So let's work within, again, the color of the law to get these things done. No matter what Reason Magazine says, I have done nothing but advocate for legal action. So they can slander me, they can libel me, whatever. But that's the truth. No Guard says, Razorfist has been pushing this idea recently as well. If the American political spectrum today stretches from Hamilton to Jefferson. I'm not quite sure. I mean, obviously Hamilton and Jefferson had wildly different views. So saying that when people say just the founders, they're kind of ignoring the fact that these people had very different ideas for what the founding would look like. I mean, they're still within a certain realm. Like they're not complete. They are American at some level, but there are two definitive branches, at least, of Americanism that exist at the kind of the core of the founding of the republic. So if that's what you're talking about there, then yes, I would agree with that. Andrew Guler says, how often does the ADL get sued for libel or defamation? Well, they're famously stocked up with tons of lawyers, so not very often, I imagine, because it's very difficult to do so. But yes, they absolutely should be if that is what they are doing, and it's pretty clear that is what they are doing. Mostly Peaceful Merch says it's dumb to moderate to try to please hyphenated Americans or hyphenated Christians. You're still in the out group, and no compromise will change that. Fair enough, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't speak the truth, right? Like I'm with you. Like don't try to change core beliefs or core principles or core loyalties to please people who hate you or are never going to be on your side. I agree with that, but that doesn't mean then you just need to choose the most radical thing that they oppose, right? This is the problem. When you go all the way and you're like, well, the left hates Nazis, so I'll just be a Nazi. No, that's dumb. That's dumb. You're not a Nazi because the left calls you a Nazi or wants you to be a Nazi. That's stupid. Don't take the frame of your enemy. Pick up the actual beliefs you have. They might call those Nazi too. They probably will. In fact, they definitely will. Even Reason Magazine will call them Nazi because they're liars who are trying to get people murdered. But ultimately, you should believe what you actually believe, what your real tradition and values draw you to, what your religion teaches you, what your family believe, what your ancestors believe. That is what you should believe. Those are the principles you should hold. Not because they make the left angry. It's not about making the left rage. It's about returning to a true belief system, not the one that's been handed to you. Life of Brian says, friend enemy derives directly from the Sabbath being for man. If the civil society takes priority over process, it follows that there are conditions where process must defer to preservation. Yeah, I agree. Ultimately, if the principles are there to make society better, the society is not there just to uphold the principle. You should, in general, uphold the principle. There's the reason it's a principle is because it's what works for your society most of the time and is good, right? That is a good thing. But ultimately, if there's some crack in the civil order, then you, of course, need to fix that. And if that's, you need to take action to resolve that problem because it will ultimately benefit the wider civil order, then yes, ultimately that is true. Enrico Palazzo says Chase Oliver is representative of the gaping hole of the modern Libertarian Party. Yeah, I think you've said everything that needs to be said there. A Life of Brian says the fact that Reason types play strict friend enemy for Israel is just further proof. There's always the Schmittian exception. The question is where. Again, I don't know. It's not like I pay enough attention to Reason to know where they've been on Israel. Many of you are saying that they have been very pro-Israel in contrast to their other beliefs. I'm willing to believe that, but I just don't know. I can't cite those articles right away, so I'm not going to like just go full bore on that, not knowing where the truth lies there. Though I would entirely believe you're correct about that. CB says liberal fascism equals leftist because it is a collective totalitarianism characterized by symbolic relationship of the people with a leader embodying the popular will. Why you guys hate? I mean, that's not even really what fascism is, but I hear you. Freelancer you says libertarians are too cowardly and subversive to truly be right wing. It's also it's as close as they're willing to go without crossing over. Again, yep, generally agree with that. I think that's generally true. Again, there are good libertarians out there. Just want to caveat that. I have them on my show. But as a general rule, I think that's a fair characterization of the mainstream libertarian position. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. As always, I want to thank you for coming by and enjoying the show. If it's your first time on the channel, you need to click subscribe on YouTube, bell notifications so you know when we go live. If you want to get these broadcasts as podcasts, you need to subscribe to the Auron MacIntyre Show on your favorite podcast platform. And if you do, please leave a rating or review. It really helps with the algorithm magic. Thank you for watching, and as always, I will talk to you next time.